the Hurry Up.
And welcome into another episode of the Hurry Up. I'm Courtney Cox, and welcome into the Nesson Digital Studios as we go through locks and upsets, some fantasy advice, and of course some debate as Week 8 stares us right in the face. But look no further because we've got our friend Nick Goss in studio to talk about some big storylines headed into this week of play. First and foremost, MVP in the NFL. There seems to be a clear front runner for a lot of folk.
Yeah, I think it's Carson Wentz, the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback. He's been absolutely phenomenal this season. Fourth in the league in passing yards, leads the NFL with 17 passing touchdowns. The Eagles have a 6-1 record, the best mark in the NFC. He's been the main driver of their success. The only concern I have going forward is Jason Peters, torn ACL, torn MCL, their big left tackle, Pro Bowler, got injured in their Monday night Week 7 game against the Redskins. That's a huge loss, but I still think if Wentz, if he keeps up this pace, he could be taking home his first MVP. So
that's good news in the NFC. Now to the AFC. Some interesting storylines, I guess you would say, for the Steelers.
Yeah, Martavis Bryant reportedly wants out, and Mike Tomlin, their head coach of the Steelers, said he's not available for trade, and they have a lot of invested in him, and that's right, they do. He's a really talented player. We saw that his rookie season. He was suspended for all of last year, and during that time in the preseason and this year, some receivers have passed him on the depth chart. Look at Juju Smith-Schuster from USC. He's been a really big player in their offense. So he needs to put in the work, and he owes it to the Steelers. They've stuck with him through this difficult time, and he's talented. He's got to make his mark.
All right, now there are some teams that fans are panicking about. One of them is the Broncos. Is it time to panic if you are a Denver Broncos fan?
I think it is. Their offense is really bad. Trevor Siemian has not performed to the level they need a quarterback. They haven't scored more than 16 points in each of the last 4 games. They've scored just 10 in the last 2 combined, including last week a shutout loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. They're only a half game up on the Chargers and Raiders in the AFC for second place in the AFC West. If they don't improve quickly, they could find themselves at the bottom of that division, and it could miss the playoffs for a second straight season.
All right, well, there you have it. The lead storylines heading into Week 8 of play. If you want to talk with Nick, you can find him on Twitter at Nick Goss Nesson. But now we are going to send it out to our friends at Gillette.
Hey everybody, Michaela Vernava, Zach Cox, Doug Kyde, a very rainy Gillette Stadium. The Patriots preparing to take on I almost said San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers. And on Sunday, they finally had a good, I'm comfortable with saying good, defensive performance against the Falcons. But there were some injuries to an already beat up defensive squad, and namely Dante Hightower being the biggest with a shoulder injury. He's already got the knee. So despite those, can they carry the momentum from last week, you think, and show up again on Sunday?
Yeah, because the Patriots defense even looked good during that game when Dante Hightower and Malcolm Brown weren't out there, and Stephon Gilmore's dealing with a concussion. So they looked good despite all of the injuries. I think that means that perhaps they can even get better as the season goes on and as some of those guys get a little bit healthier in there. I'm not ready to make blanket statements about this Patriots defense, though. They looked good. I'm still not ready to say that they are good and that they will be good moving forward. I think that they've played pretty well over the last 3 weeks. Against the Falcons definitely was their best performance of the season, but I want to see this for the next couple of weeks as well. Patriots are playing the Chargers, then heading in the bye, then they've got some tough matchups against the Broncos and the Raiders. So if they can finish out that stretch still looking good, then I will say they're good. Until then, let's just be a little bit hesitant there.
Proceed with caution until then. But as far as the offense goes, I think we can make a blanket statement and go ahead and say that they are very good, and their running game really was a huge factor in the game against the Falcons. What kind of game plan do you think they'll roll out against the Chargers?
Yeah, it really has been the last 2 weeks. I mean, against the Jets and against the Falcons, the Patriots' run game has been excellent. It's been very well-rounded, especially this past week. I mean, I think you could say all 4 of their running backs had pretty good games, especially Dion Lewis. I think the biggest takeaway for me is that Dion Lewis is the best running back on this team right now. He deserves to be in that lead back role. Now, he's not going to get as many carries as someone like Leonard Fournette or somebody like that, because they still, all 4 of these players, of these running backs, are deserving of touches. But from what we've seen these past 2 weeks and really over the past month or so, I think Dion Lewis deserves to kind of take the lead on this team. I did like what I saw from Rex Burkhead in the brief number of snaps that we saw from him in his first game back from that rib injury. I think we might see a little bit more of him going forward too. But yeah, Dion Lewis is definitely the top dog in this group right now.
Julio Jones was kind of implying that the fog maybe had something to do with their deep balls, but you can't blame the fog on Dion Lewis.
No,
He's
you
very
cannot.
low to the ground, and they could see him, just couldn't stop him.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
All right, welcome back in from Gillette, back into the Nesson Digital Studios, and I'm joined now by Mike Cole, The newly married Mike Cole.
Yeah, still married.
I kind of wish that you were a girl because it would be a name change,
Yeah.
but nope, still last name. Show off the ring.
Yeah, I did. I have a ring now, and I did keep my last name. So,
Yeah, you kept it.
Two
Mike
for two.
Cole.
Yeah.
There we go. But we're all very excited for you. Not really what
Thanks.
we're here to talk
No.
about because we talk about it a lot off of camera.
Yeah.
But like every week, we're going to do a little bit of lock and upset. So let's jump right into it. It's
If-
kind of tough for you
Yeah, if
because
we must.
it's been a
Yeah.
rough season.
Yeah.
Your lock.
Yeah, no, this was a lot more fun last week when I didn't have to do this. But for my lock this week, I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals, 10.5-point favorites. That's a lot of points to the Bengals, who haven't been very good this season. They're playing a little bit better lately, I suppose, but they get the Colts at home this week. The Colts have just been dreadful. The Colts offensive line still sucks. 11.3 sack percentage against. That's very high, highest in the NFL. Cincinnati, 6th best sack percentage for, however you want to define that. 2nd best at home. They get after the passer. Again, I think this is a big day for A.J. Green. Everyone wants to talk about the offensive line for the Colts. It stinks. So does the defense. They're equally as bad. So I think you look at, they've been giving up big games to guys like Allen Hurns, Marquise Goodwin, guys who are not on the same level as A.J. Green. I think this is a big get-right game for him. Also could be a nice bounce-back game for Joe Mixon and finally find his footing against a dreadful Colts defense that is equally bad against the run and the pass. So a lot of equal sucking for the Colts, basically.
Ooh, equal sucking.
Yeah, I don't know if
There
that's
you go.
I don't know if we can say that, but that's
Well, we just
Yeah,
did.
that's right,
But
yeah.
everybody loves a good upset. So this week, who you got for there?
For the upset this week, I'm going to go to the NFC East. Always a rock fight between these sorts of teams, but I'm going to take the Washington Redskins 2.5-point underdogs at home against the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys this year, they have 3 wins. They've beaten the Giants, the Cardinals, and the 49ers. None of those teams are very good. The Redskins, meanwhile, they've played a tough schedule. They've played Philly twice already. They've played the Rams, who are pretty good, the Raiders, who look better, and the Chiefs, a team that everybody thought was the best team in football for a while. So, these two teams are a lot closer, I think, on paper than people realize. I like one stat I really like is yards per play differential. These two teams, I think, Dallas is 6th, Washington's 8th. This game's in Washington. Kirk Cousins playing better. 119.7 passer rating over his last 4 games. I'm still not sold on that Dallas defense. They were in San Francisco last week. They have to go to Washington this week. That's a lot of travel. A lot of things working against the Cowboys here, so I'll take the Redskins with the points.
We have one friend who's not going to be happy
No,
with that.
that's even better.
And speak of the devil, great stuff
geez.
from Mike as always, but we're going to send it to the roomie debate.
Oh, boy.
Nick and Andre, take it away.
All right, thanks a lot, Mike and Courtney, and congratulations to Mike Cole putting that ring on his finger. He's a married man. I'm very happy for him. But you know what? Let's talk about the AFC right now, Nick. There's 3 teams at 5-2: the New England Patriots, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. From these 3 5-2 teams, who do you think is the best one?
It's difficult for me to pick against Tom Brady, but because the Patriots defense has been less than stellar, I'm going to have to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay.
They are healthy this season. Fantastic offense. We know what Ben Roethlisberger can do. Le'Veon Bell is finally hitting his stride after missing the preseason. They have great receivers, and their defense has been phenomenal. 2nd in yards allowed per game. It's 2nd and 3rd in scoring defense as well. They have some young players that are really coming up and building that defense. They're well coached as well. I think the Steelers finally have the ingredients this year, and we know they destroy Kansas City every time they play them. It's an
I wouldn't say
mismatch.
destroy.
Well, they handily beat them.
Destroy. 16-10 is destroy. Beating them by 2 points in the playoffs last year is destroy.
Well, they didn't allow a touchdown in that.
Okay, well, you know which quarterback hasn't thrown a single interception this year is Alex Smith. The Kansas City Chiefs quarterbacks are the only team in football that haven't thrown an interception. You got to give them credit for that. And offensively, they have the highest yards per play. 50.7% of drives they score touchdowns. And people talk about their defense, how it isn't, they allow a ton of yards, and I agree. They do 6.1 yards allowed per play. That's a ton of yards. It's a ton of yards, Nick. It's 30 yards.
31st in defensive efficiency.
Cool, but guess what? They get turnovers. They have the 3rd best turnover differential in the league. They did it last year. They're doing it this year. And let me tell you something. They're going to be quoting Floyd Mayweather the rest of the season. They're going to be like, all work is what? Easy work. Because the only winning teams are playing the rest of the season are the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. And would you, deep down, do you think those teams are winning teams?
So they won't be challenged. And the Chiefs are the Washington Capitals of the NFL. They have great regular seasons all the time, and then they get to the playoffs and they get smoked.
Who hasn't been challenged so
what Alex
far?
Smith
Who
does.
hasn't been challenged so far is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They beat the Bengals, the Ravens. They play in probably the weakest division in the AFC.
They have the Patriots coming up. They have
they
some
still
other
got
top teams.
Yeah, they do. But guess who beat the Patriots? You got the Kansas City Chiefs.
In week 1.
Okay, well this
Patriots
game
have
they
improved a lot
play.
since then.
10 weeks from now, we'll be saying, oh, the Chiefs lost to the Steelers in week 6, week 7. So it's all relative. But at the end of the day, I like what the Chiefs do defensively. They don't turn the ball over. I love what they do offensively, I mean to say, and they don't turn the ball over, and they force turnovers. I like that recipe for success.
We'll see if it happens for them going forward.
You know what we've seen a lot of this season from teams all around the league are celebrations, and Michaela Vernava is going to take a deep dissection and take a look at all the great celebrations from week 7. Take it away, Michaela.
NFL ratings may be down, but celebrations are at an all-time high, and I'm seriously impressed with the players' creativity. It's not like we don't know that NFL stars are multi-talented. Martellus Bennett, for one, writes children's books. Jonathan Stewart is an exquisite pianist. But that creative side isn't the side that fans get to see very often, at least not until this season. The NFL's new relaxed rules on celebrations have these world-class athletes showcasing some tremendous acting skills. Here are the top performances from Week 7. Number 3, in the Chargers' win over the Broncos, Austin Eckler with the air guitar solo. Number 2, Juju Smith-Schuster and the Steelers with a game of hide and seek in their win over the Bengals. Ready or not, here they come. And best celebration of the week goes to Robbie Anderson for his perfect portrayal of Netflix and chill. Unfortunately for him and his Jets, the Dolphins made them pay for kicking their feet up in their house, winning the game 31-28.
Great stuff from Michaela as always. Now joined with me in the NESN Digital Studios, I've got Darren Hartwell, so it's time to talk fantasy waiver wire. Marshawn Lynch had a little bit of an issue on the field, a little bit of pushing, shoving.
There was some contact.
Yeah, with a ref.
Yeah.
Can't do that. So he is suspended for week 8. So if you're a fantasy owner, you've got to fill this void. You look at guys like Jalen Richard or DeAndre Washington. Can either of those guys fill that void?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. It's kind of going to be a running back by committee there. I think going forward for just Week 8 purposes, I think I like Richard a little bit better than Washington just because of his pass catching ability. He had 4 catches for 45 yards last week. The Bills, they're playing the Bills in Week 8. They have a top 10 run defense, so it might be a little bit tougher sledding on the run side of it. They might, go to the passing game a little bit. So I like Richard slightly more than Washington there.
Well, the Pats also have a running back by committee, Dion Lewis, who's had another great week. Do you think that he's worth adding?
I really want to say yes, but I just can't trust the Patriots running backs at this point, especially when you consider Rex Burkhead coming back. So now they have 4 running backs essentially all sharing the workload there. Great game from Lewis, 76 yards, and the Chargers, who they're playing in Week 8, actually have a pretty bad run defense, 31st in the NFL in yards allowed. But you just never know who's going to get the bulk of the carries, and even if Lewis gets the bulk of the carries, 76 yards is all right, but it's not going to be a home run for fantasy. I just think his ceiling is a little bit too low.
All right, now let's move away from running backs. Let's go to wide receivers. Anyone there?
Yeah, the big guy I like this week is Josh Doxson. He had, Monday Night Football wasn't a big performance out of him, only 3 catches for 39 yards, but the biggest thing for him, he had 24 more snaps than Terrell Pryor, who's kind of fallen off a little bit. After the game, Jay Gruden basically said, we want Doxson to be our #1 receiver going forward. He's a high draft pick guy. He's dealt with some injuries and finally is starting to integrate into the offense a little bit. Redskins love to throw the ball. I think Kirk Cousins is going to look his way a lot over the second half of the season, so he's kind of a long-term add if you have the patience and can have a roster spot for him. I think he could be big down the stretch for you.
All right, well, there you have it. Great stuff from Darren. If you want to tweet him, ask him questions, you can find him at Darren_Hartwell. But now we're going to send it to our guy, Ricky Doyle, for some show and tell.
The name of the game is Show and Tell. This is where I bring in objects each week and use them to give you a few developing thoughts I have on the 2017 NFL season. And in honor of Halloween this week, we're going to keep it Halloween themed. It's one of my favorite holidays, very high up there in my personal power rankings, just because it is just completely novelty and I love just weird crap. So, first object we're going to bring in is it's a towel, but it's a ghost. Well, I think it's a ghost. Some people might argue it's a snowman. My father told me it's a snowman. He drinks a little bit, though, so I'm not going to believe him. But it's a very jovial ghost. But generally, ghosts are scary. And you know what is also scary? If you're the Denver Broncos looking at the situation that you're in right now. 3-3 and out of the playoff picture in the AFC, and the road's only going to get tougher from here. They got dates coming up against the Chiefs, the Eagles, and the Patriots back to back to back. That doesn't bode well for their playoff chances. Also, you look at Trevor Siemian, 9 turnovers in 6 games this season. They might need to make a change at quarterback at some point. Maybe when Paxton Lynch comes back, they see what they have there. But the Broncos, not in good shape right now, coming off that shutout loss to the Chargers. First time they've been shut out in 394 games. First time since 1992. Very scary stuff going on in the Mile High City. Wouldn't want to be the Broncos right now. Second object, I bring in this little jack-o'-lantern because Deshaun Watson, the old Cinderella story of the season, is about to turn into a pumpkin in Week 8. He's going up against the Seattle Seahawks, whose defense has been pretty good this season, and we all know about the Legion of Boom. It's going to be Deshaun Watson's toughest test yet going into Seattle, where an opposing rookie quarterback has not won since 2011. That was Andy Dalton, who stinks, by the way. But anyways, it's going to be a tough test because the Seahawks are a much different team at home, and I just cannot see the Houston Texans, who are 3-8 in the last 11 road games, going in there and winning. So Cinderella, Deshaun Watson, for at least 1 week, your time's up, turn it into a pumpkin. So let's see, final object. Whoa, look at this. We got a vampire. It's Dracula. Gave me quite a fright there. Oh boy. Anyways, the vampire is out for blood, and I think it's safe to say the Jacksonville Jaguars were also out for blood against the Indianapolis Colts in Week 7. 10 sacks. Second time this season the Jags have had 10 sacks. So that's still scaring me. Just, woo. Very spooky individual. But 10 sacks against the Colts, and I think it's time for the Colts, who have a banged-up offensive line, to shut Andrew Luck down for the season. Week to week, that whole situation fluctuates. They've been relying on Jacoby Brissett so far. It's time for the Colts to hit the reset button, bring back Luck next year. Once you revamp that offensive line, maybe you have better luck then. But don't bring him back this year because that offensive line is banged up against the Jaguars. They're out for blood, just like this guy. Hopefully, I'm going to have nightmares. I don't know. But that's the Week 7, well, Week 8 edition. So we're halfway through the season, and I'm ready for Halloween. How about you guys? I'm jacked up. Ooh, it's ghoulish.
Well, that will do it for another week of the Hurry Up for everybody at Gillette and in studio. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time, same place.